The Iowa Hawkeye women, with one of the more dominating victories of the season, 96-50 over the Wisconsin Badgers inside Carver Hawkeye Arena in Iowa City. What a second half for those Hawkeyes that actually held Wisconsin to 6 fourth-quarter points. And much of that fourth quarter was featured a number of reserves for Iowa, including forward A.J. Ediger, who got an extended run tonight without Hannah Stolke. She was out with an injury. And Iowa eventually running away with this thing 96-50. Wisconsin kept it close in the first and into the second, but really by halftime, Iowa had begun to separate themselves. And then third quarter, fourth quarter, Iowa outscoring the Badgers. Listen to this, 50-20 in the second half. 50-20. Incredible. And Iowa taking care of business and moving to 7-0. 7-0 now in the Big Ten Conference. They're 18-1 overall on the season. Caitlin Clark tonight, 32 points, 8 of 18 from the field. How about 10 of 10 from the free throw line for Caitlin? That's always a good stat to share. And added 7 rebounds, 5 assists per usual, along with 4 steals for Caitlin Clark. So really lit up the scoreboard, lit up the box score for her Iowa Hawkeyes this evening. Here's what we're going to do, folks, as we do each and every postgame show. There is a number to call in. The number is 515-635-1601. I'm just now getting the lineup, so I apologize if you tried to call at the outset. 515-635-1601 is the number to call. I also threw the link to our StreamYard studio up in the description. So if you want to hop on StreamYard with me for a minute or two, you can certainly do that. If you've got a comment, question, observation, whatever the case may be, click the link in the description below. I will also throw the link for StreamYard up in the live chat right now. All right. And speaking of right now, we've got our first Iowa Smokehouse caller. Before we get to our first caller of the day, I want to take a moment to thank Iowa Smokehouse. They are sponsoring our call-in line. Be sure you support our sponsors, including Iowa Smokehouse, with their tasty beef jerky, their meat sticks, their barbecue sauces, salsas, and much more. Tasting is believing with this Iowa company. It's Iowa Smokehouse down in Albia. Have it shipped right to your door with free shipping on every $50 order. Use the code Hawkeyes for 15% off your total order. That being said, let's go to our call-in line, our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Who's on the line?
Well, this would be Chris from Lusk, Wyoming.
Hi, Chris.
who just recently got Peacock.
Yes, you did. I knew you would. We talked about this the other night. You weren't going to be able to hold out forever. So I applaud you for spending the $4.
Thank you. No. I got a deal a year for $2.99 a month. So how can you pass that up?
There you go. You spent the whole year. How about that? What, 20? So $30 basically for a year. You can't really beat that.
No, so I had to
$2.99 a
do
month.
it.
I'm sorry, $2.99 a month times 12. There's 12 months in a year, not 10. All right, slightly more. What would that be? $36? That's still really good.
It was $29 for a year. So whatever that works out to. So okay, we got that settled.
That's fabulous.
I have a lot of opinions on things that happened in the game tonight, but I was worried about the post play, of course. But then when I saw Sharon, with her back to the basket and turn and score, I thought we are making progress here. Because prior to that, you could see, they're posting up, standing up, but they weren't a scoring threat. And Wisconsin knew it, so it was really good to see Sharon do that. So, okay, Kasheen had a point. So I have to say, yeah, they are working on it. So that made me happy. I also thought we did a really good job on Williams, keeping her contained because she is really good.
She is.
So, yeah, I thought we did a good job on that. So that made me happy.
19 points, 14 rebounds without Hannah Stolke. That was the one matchup that was going to scare you if you're a Hawkeye. And for the most part, you're right. Held her to 8 of 15 from the field. You knew she was going to dominate the glass because, frankly, Iowa doesn't do great on the boards individually. There's really nobody that dominates the glass for Iowa, but without Hannah in there, it's going to be difficult. And I thought AJ Ediger gave them really good minutes. I know she made a couple of plays late offensively. I wonder if she didn't earn herself some time. I know she's a little undersized to be a true 5, but she can put her back to the basket and score. So it'll be interesting to see if Lisa tries to get her in games a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I thought she did. I thought she looked really good. I was impressed with her. And then I can also see why Taylor McCabe isn't playing as much as we, thought we wanted her to play. She's not quite ready to be doing it, but she will be. She's not quite there yet. So anyway, I was really happy with the win. It seemed like we started the game sluggish, and it seems like we're tired. So, I think Caitlin Clark needs a couple of days to just sleep. She looks exhausted to me.
Well, keep in mind, I'm not endorsing what you just said or not endorsing it. However, the game against Indiana was a big game. I'm sure there was a lot of, there's mental energy and effort that goes into every game, but especially a game against, you could consider their top rival right now in the Big Ten. And that was a game we didn't really know whether or not it was actually going to happen because of the weather. It's a fairly late tip, and by the time you get done, it's Sunday, and then kind of a quick turnaround Tuesday, kind of a late in the day game. I don't know if that's an explanation. You are right about this, though, Chris. They are going to get somewhat of a break here because they don't play till Sunday. Now, it is a Sunday morning game, but I'm with you. I think they could use a break, and obviously Hannah needs some time.
Right. Yeah. What was her injury? I didn't hear it.
Somebody asked me that during the broadcast, and I missed the very initial part of the broadcast. I'm assuming and it was not an issue. I don't believe it was a Peacock issue. I think it was an issue on my end, but the first part cut off for me, so I don't know. And I don't know that it was listed on the injury report from Iowa. All I saw heading into the game was that Iowa listed her as questionable, but no specific on her injury.
Yeah, maybe they didn't say what it was. They just said she didn't. At the end of the game, they said she didn't play because of an injury, but they weren't explicit about what that was. So
yeah, and obviously I haven't listened to Lisa. I'm sure Lisa has updated the media by now on Hannah's injury, but the good news is she was there. I would assume it's not serious. She was questionable heading into the game. And it looks like, based on what I'm seeing here, lower leg potentially. So not sure if that's related to the same knee that she injured, but hopefully just day to day, and she'll get a few days to be off and bounce back on Sunday.
Yeah, hopefully she'll be. I can see the point of benching her. Why risk it? Why, a worse injury? And it also pushed the other three, they had to perform. So I thought that was good. I feel better about them now than before. They still have some progress to make, but these kind of situations make people step up, and that's what needs to happen. So
absolutely.
Now this isn't the Iowa Hawks, but this is Kim Mulkey and that 40-shot comment that she made.
Okay.
Do you think she was throwing shade at Caitlin Clark, or is that just media hype?
No, who else is she talking about?
There you go.
Who else is she talking about?
I would like to nominate her because I'm not a fan of Mulkey. Just she's too edgy for me. Okay, but I would like to nominate her for Jerk of the Week because what is a coach doing, throwing shade on a player? This is a grown woman.
With all due respect to Kim Mulkey, Chris, and Kim has a phenomenal resume as it relates to winning.
Yes. Yes.
She is one of the least appealing personalities in the sport that I know, and I'm not following UCLA and Stanford and all these big programs like some people I'm sure are, but she's rubbed me the wrong day since she was at Baylor, and obviously,
Yeah.
I think what Kashin said on Saturday is fair. There's probably some, whether you call it do or undo, frustration or resentment from other figures in the sport that resent the fact that Caitlin is talked about so much, even during other broadcasts.
Right.
And I get it. I mean, we're on the Iowa side of it, so we don't mind. But I mean, I've had that thought. Chris, have you ever had the thought of, hey, we don't need to idolize this woman, like she's really good, but I understand it's what sells and people want to talk about her, and she is phenomenal at basketball. She's done a lot of great things for the community, but I could see why other figures might get frustrated across the sport.
Well, but see, I'm of the opinion that, and I agree with that, because it's got to be hard for everybody in that program. I mean, yes, she is a special player, but for her to get all the attention when, actually her game wasn't all that great. She wasn't spectacular tonight, I didn't think. Or maybe it's just me. Might have been my mood, but it really was a team effort, what I saw tonight, and that needs to be driven home to everybody that's watching them. They are a team.
I'll say this, Chris, and you're absolutely right about this. Lisa Bluter and this staff have done a tremendous job, and I think you have to give credit to the coaching staff, specifically Lisa, for managing personalities and managing camaraderie and the dynamic that is Caitlin Clark, that is so unconventional, but also like we've just never seen it, right? It's just it's dynamic, it's insane, it's riveting, it's all those things in one player and one team. And so I think for Lisa to be able to manage all this, and it seems like everybody just loves playing with Caitlin and vice versa. And if there are any grudges, you don't see those appear on game day. So that's, I think, a huge credit to the coaching staff. And if you had told me heading into the game, Chris, that Iowa would beat Wisconsin by 46 and would come up short of 100, and yet Hannah Stolke wouldn't play and they'd only have 3 players in double figures, I'd have been like, well, how on earth are they going to score 96? Well, this is how they did it. They got 7 from Edgar. They got 6 from O'Grady. We got 4 from freshman Kenise Johnson. They get 3 from McCabe, 6 from Feuerbach, 5 for Molly Davis, 3 for Gabby Marshall on just 3 attempts, 16 for Kate Martin, 32 for Clark. Goodman adds a couple. And who am I missing? Jimphy Play did not score. But I mean, a falter gets 12, 6, and 4. Those are just balanced numbers. And if they could do that each and every night with Hannah, I mean, I've made this comment before regarding their shooting, but they just don't normally get this balanced of offensive production. They're going to be hard to stop. Now, this Wisconsin team is not very good. I think we can acknowledge that. That's not a very good basketball team right now. But this is what you're supposed to do against lower tier conference opponents.
Right. But back to Mulkey. We can agree that, she's not the most likable person in the world, but she's an adult. She's a professional. She's got no business, in my opinion, throwing shade on a kid. That's why I'm nominating her for the Jerk of the Week.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to take that crown away from her, Chris.
Okay.
I'm going to let you name her that. I had some pretty strong things to say about Kim Mulkey and the culture there at LSU during the national championship game before. And, it does seem to me like there's a lot more, even though LSU won that game, you'd think you could just enjoy being national champions for a while. I agree with you. Like, why, if you're Kim Mulkey, you won. Like, you're coming off a national title. Your team is really good again this year. Why are you giving Iowa the time of day? But I think it's because of there is somewhat of a jealousy there and a resentment. So. I don't know what else there. You had the Dawn Staley situation, South Carolina, and the tweet that she sent out after a couple of weeks. Let's see, was it against Michigan State? Kind of a resentful, petty tweet toward Iowa. Why do that when you've got your own team to worry about?
I know. I like Dawn Staley. I was really disappointed in that. The other coach I really don't like is the Georgia coach. Remember her last year after we played them?
Yep.
Geez, yep. She was terrible. So
Don't you long? Don't you, hey, Chris? Don't you long for March? Because a lot of these storylines become real big.
Yeah.
Like all those things happened in March. Don't you just long for the month of March?
Yeah, but we got to get through this other stuff.
They do.
So,
so far, so good.
But and I am nervous before every game because we could get beat. It doesn't matter how great you are, you can still get beat. So, but anyway, I'm loving watching this team. And the other thing I wanted to say about, is it the Southeast Conference where LSU is?
Yes.
And I mean, they're used to getting down there. They're used to getting all the attention and the accolades, and they don't like this stuff that's coming, from the Midwest that just rocks their boat a little bit. But I watch a lot of little YouTube things. And there's a guy that has a channel. It's called J. Willie Silly or something like that. So he doesn't really know a lot about Iowa, but he was watching the highlights of the Indiana game, and he's like, "Whoa, this is a team. They're playing team ball." This is what he said about LSU because that's who he follows. He says they're playing me ball down there right now. They're not gelled as a team. He said Iowa could beat them no problem right now. So.
Well, a lot of talent down there, a lot of personalities, just like we talk about Iowa. What Lisa Bluter's done, she's done a phenomenal job managing personalities. But for all the personality that is Caitlin Clark, imagine trying to manage Angel Reese, Haley Van Lith, what's her face from DePaul, and some of the
Flaugier. We think it's Flaugier?
Well, Flaugier is another one, absolutely. Flaugier Johnson, she was phenomenal in the championship game. She's back. So there's a lot of talent on that Bayou Bengals team. But, Mulkey's a good coach. I'll give her that. She finds a way. Sometimes it's there's a reason why people don't like her, but there's other reasons Iowa fans don't like her.
Yeah, well, I just told you why I don't like her. And I don't care who knows it. So I'll come on your broadcast and talk about it. But,
that's okay, Chris.
So that's pretty much all I have for you tonight, Cory. Appreciate your show very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate the call.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Appreciate Chris calling in as always from Wyoming. Barbara says, "Way to go, Hawks. Love the announcers set the record straight on Mulkey's comment about Caitlin." And so, again, I missed that. At times I have the TV muted. At times I have it going. I'd have to go back and listen to what comments were made about Mulkey. But obviously she was a topic this evening. So imagine that. Bob, did you see the top ticket prices for the 3 away games, Northwestern, Ohio State? Well, I did look up the prices, and I saw there were some, close to $1,000 or more for the best seats in the house. I don't know that those will sell, but that's what the secondary market looks like right now. All right, let's go to our next caller, our next Iowa Smokehouse caller. Before we do that, I want to thank RTI Threads. I've got the CD3 Laces Up sweatshirt on, as I always try to do during postgame coverage. Check out Cooper DeJean's apparel line at cd3lacesup.com. Also, support Hawkeye athletes Aaron Graves, Carson Shire, Aiden Hall, Zach Lutmer, and more at rtithreads.com. RTI Threads, proud supporter of From the Hawkeye of the Storm and Iowa women's basketball. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Ryan is on hold. Ryan, welcome.
Good evening, Cory. How are you, sir?
Doing good. You look locked in and focused. You are locked in.
No, I just got back from the dentist right before tip-off, so.
Okay.
You're
just not in a good mood because you're in pain. Are you in pain, Ryan?
No. Are you kidding me? We just played the number 13 team, a very, very, very good Wisconsin ball club, and beat them by, 46? I'm pretty happy.
Number 13 in the country or number 13 in the Big Ten?
Oh, yeah, Big Ten. Anyway, it sounded better than
Nothing wrong with blowing a team out, Ryan.
I'll tell you what, I'll take that Sarah Williams. So
she is really, I like her a lot. I know that Chris brought up the struggles for. She is really good. She'd play if she was on Iowa's roster. She would be our 5. Yeah, she's good.
Boy, I wonder if she was sitting on that bench thinking, what if she's only a sophomore. What if I transferred over here and played with Hannah down low, we would be having a very well. We're still number 2 without her, so pretty amazing stuff. I, I I gotta just say, once again, Sydney is just showing why. Oh man, she has to be the front runner for Sixth Lady of the Year. Would you not agree?
She's been phenomenal. I mean, tonight and her ability to stuff the box score. What I think was in particular impressive is that she hit double figures offensively, Ryan, and not because she finally broke out or she finally decided to let it fly.
No.
No, it's because there was more of a need. Stolke's out, and there's more of a need or an opportunity on offense. She never forces anything, and today, I'm glad you brought her up because she's our RTI Threads player of the game. 12 points, perfect from the field, but just 3 attempts, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. She had a few turnovers, but boy, she affects the game in so many different ways, and absolutely is the most improved player. Like if there's an award with that award, she absolutely gets that hands down.
And I just think I come back to the same thought every time I watch her play. Winning plays. Who's the one who's diving, getting, knee burns all the time, diving for loose balls? Who's rebounding? Who's shooting well? Who's stealing the ball, making that extra pass? Just winning plays all the time. I just cannot praise her enough for what she's brought to this team. And boy, we needed somebody to really, really step up to help fill the voids of losing McKenna and Monica. And I think she's at the top of the list. She may not start, but I don't think that matters.
And did anybody expect her to be that person? I did not.
I did not either. I mean, she barely played last year, and she's a junior now. So, I would think next year, I know we have a pretty star-studded recruiting class coming in. Unfortunately, the one gal from Peoria, Guyton, I think her name is.
Aaliyah, yep.
Yeah, she's going to probably have to do a medical red shirt, unfortunately. But, we still have a lot coming in. I would think Sydney's going to be one of the probably kind of a little more of that Kate Martin role that you're seeing this year, next year, is my opinion. Here's my thought.
Yeah, I kind of compared a few years ago. I compared Kate Martin to Kathleen Doyle, and that was unfair to Kate Martin because Kathleen Doyle, especially her senior year, she was I would say a score first guard. Wouldn't you say, Ryan?
Yeah.
Offensive minded. Not that Kate isn't, but Kate is she's going to defer when she's in an offense that features Caitlin Clark. Huge difference there. But I agree with you. I think the comparison between Sydney Falter and Kate Martin is just fine, especially next year. If Caitlin Clark comes back without Kate Martin and Gabby Marshall will be gone, there's another perimeter threat gone. Sydney's shown she was 1 of 1 from 3 today. She doesn't take a lot from outside, but she's shown the ability to knock down outside shots. You add that to her game on a consistent basis, she is maybe the next Kate Martin to Caitlin Clark. And you mentioned she's a junior. How many years of eligibility? Does she just have the 1 year after this, or does she have a COVID year?
No, she has a COVID. Should have a COVID.
She can't if she's a junior. This is 2023 for. I'll look this up, but I don't think.
Oh yeah. Man, you're aging us fast there, Cory. I'm still stuck in 2022.
Let's see, Sydney. I'm terrible with the. So she got here. No, she got here in 21-22. So, so she's got 1 year left, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But she'll make the most of it. I'm sure she's doing it right now.
Absolutely. I have a feeling, your last caller, who doesn't sound like she's a big fan of Kim Mulkey, somehow
you are, though, right? You're a big fan. You love Kim Mulkey.
I wanted to ask that caller if she would ever, get fashion tips from Kim Mulkey or anything like that.
The leopard print or the cheetah print, or which one are you? Tiger print. That's the one you're most.
The tiger print. Oh yeah, man. I mean, those poor girls can't unsee some of that stuff. It's just terrible. And then, like, as far as Dawn Staley, I think where the pettiness comes from is there's a real chance maybe that they just changed that award from the Dawn Staley Award to the Caitlin Clark Award sometime. Because, I mean, why wouldn't you name the award after somebody who ran the gamut and won it 4 years in a row, which he no doubt will, right? I think that's where that threat probably comes from. Well, that and Caitlin beat her, and we were not allowed to step on South Carolina's greatness until we did. So
now I will say this: hey, I've been critical of Lisa Bluter in the past for playing players late in games, specifically Caitlin Clark. And what do you know? She didn't come out today until they were up 40. She's playing until they're up 40. I'm not going to, that's a losing battle I'm fighting if I stay hounding on that. But I'll give her credit for this. Evan in the chat says that Lisa mentioned that Hannah could have played, but they wanted more recovery for Ohio State. That is smart. Okay?
Even though Wisconsin looks like they desperately could use Gary Close on their bench, the women, well, hell, the men probably tonight too. They lost to Penn State, but
that's the weird one. But anyways,
I do think that was a wise move. We definitely have to be at full power with Ohio State. We might only win by 10 at Ohio State without Hannah, so we need Hannah so we can blow them out.
You're pretty confident.
It'd be interesting to see if Cody McMahon gets a little dirty again, like she did last year, but. I think if there's one memory other than our run last year is how petty some of these women got in some of these games. Man, they got a little dirty often,
Remember 2 years ago, Ryan, what was Iowa's pitfall? It seemed like what did teams do that was effective against Caitlin and that team? They got physical with them.
Getting very physical, right.
It was kind of like playing in the Bronx. Like, that's just what teams did, and it worked at times. It worked for Ohio State. It worked for Michigan. And if Iowa's not getting a favorable whistle, makes it almost impossible. Now, the difference is, Ryan, Caitlin Clark has built up such a reputation in this conference and nationally. So she's getting a favorable whistle every night. And, fair enough. I mean, she's earned it.
She sure didn't in the national championship game, though.
Well, I agree. But what I'm saying is, in general, even last year, go back to Big Ten play, Big Ten tournament, teams were not. That's why Iowa made it so far. Won the Big Ten tournament, got to the national championship game, because that whole physicality premise really was not the answer. Right. So it'll be interesting to see how teams like Ohio State that have kind of gotten under Caitlin's skin and Iowa's skin in the past approach this game on Sunday. It is in Columbus. I'm sure it'll be packed. It's sold out. It's on national television on a Sunday. It'll be interesting to see how they approach the game plan.
Well, again, we're going to need somebody to big time step up, like a Molly Davis, like she did with Indiana, and be able to do it on the road. And, if we lose, you know what? It still won't take away from the potential this team has to, go very, very, very far. I don't think we will lose. I don't think we'll run the table either. We may have a letdown, kind of like we did against Kansas State. I know that was on a neutral court, I believe.
Also, just so you're aware, Terrell is in the chat, and I'm guessing that Terrell's not a Iowa fan. Maybe Terrell is. By the way, my name does not have an E in it. Terrell says, Cory, if Iowa played LSU, LSU would be favored and would probably blow Iowa out again. There you go, Ryan. They'd blow them out.
Yeah. I mean, you call 2 ticky-tack fouls on Kate in the first 2 minutes and make darn sure Monica's out early. I think she fouled out with 7 minutes to go in the game. Yeah, you probably, when you have every chance, when Kim Mulkey can run halfway onto the court and chest bump referees.
Wasn't there a
I mean, she might as well put a zipper mask on. She was acting so weird.
Ryan, wasn't there a play? I've seen a replay in the past year since that game. I've seen a replay where didn't she make contact with an official?
Yeah, it was that game. Well, she did in other games too, but she did in that game.
She wasn't called for it.
Well, of course not, because she'll kick their butt. They're scared of her. I mean, this is the female version of Bobby Knight, right?
But I've never heard in either the men's or the women's game of a coach being able to make contact with an official and not even be called for a technical, not just not get thrown out, but not even get called for a technical foul. And she was out there basically on all fours out of her box the entire game. And then I saw the video later where she's making contact with an official. That was odd. And obviously the report came up much later that there was indiscrepancies in that game. So for any LSU fans that are still out there, I'm not saying they didn't outplay Iowa, but it was a 17-point win. Caitlin Clark was really good in that game, and Iowa still put up 85 on them. Had problems defensively. Part of that was foul trouble to Kate Martin, etc. We don't need to rehash it all, but I'd like to see that matchup again, and I do believe in the team chemistry and the culture at Iowa so much more than I do.
Speaking of the team chemistry, the one girl for LSU who smoked us at Jasmine Carson about maybe a couple months ago, I want to say this was probably in December, she was all over Twitter threatening to expose the program, and her mother was also on Twitter threatening to let the cat out of the bag. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on down there that isn't good. And I'm not talking about opening up the checkbook to buy players. It's legal. We know it's happening. Hopefully we can open up the checkbook and get Sarah Williams or somebody like that next year to match up with Hannah and Ava Hayden next year, right?
Well, if Caitlin's back next year,
do you really think she will? I mean,
I did a few months ago, and now with the whole Indiana thing and the first overall draft pick, yeah, I wonder. But
I don't think she'll come back. But
she may not. But
it's a win-win for her either way. What Kasheen said the other night made a lot of sense. These girls aren't going to be your friends, but I think, let's face it, in 1 month, it's going to be likely either the 15th of February against Michigan at home or the 22nd, the following game at Indiana. Caitlin is going to be able to look down on everybody who's ever played the women's game from a scoring standpoint.
Ryan, Kevin says Mulkey, Bob Knight, and Brands all cut from the same cloth.
Brands isn't quite. He's a little different than the other. One's a little different than the other two.
So what do you think he means by that? Putting Brands in the discussion with Kim Mulkey and Bobby Knight.
Oh, Brands is intense, no question about it.
So is Fran. You think would we ever compare Fran to Kim?
So is Tom Izzo.
Yeah, but I mean, like Paul Rhodes. Like there are people like that, but Mulkey is. I agree with you, Ryan. Now, Bob Knight and Kim Mulkey, there is a lot of differences between those two. Bob Knight was one heck of a coach. He verbally abused those players. I think we can agree on that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know how you couldn't.
And he said outrageous things in interviews that can't even be repeated on this show.
Yeah, so anyways, I understand to a point, but as it relates to Mulkey, I just hope that Iowa earns a chance to play them in the tournament, because I do think that I thought that Iowa matched up better with them than they did against South Carolina. The difference was South Carolina could not hit threes. I think as of right now, I would rather play LSU than probably. I know UCLA lost the other day, but again, size-wise, I like the matchup better against LSU if Hannah can stay out of foul trouble playing Reese. And I also don't like availability has been a weird issue for LSU. You talked about it earlier. Who knows in March where those players are going to be. It seems like kind of a loose cannon down there.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. I wonder what's going through Van List's head. What did I sign up for? But
well, she's got some edge to herself as well, Brian.
Oh, she does. She does. But, well, to be a fly in the wall in that locker room with a crazy woman leading the charge. But, yeah, anyway, can't wait for Ohio State. I'm going to be at the Purdue game. And hopefully we can go 4-3, get that 9-foot guy out of the game early and see what we can do.
By the way, Ben in the chat, Ava Jones is out for the year. She is also on the injury report, listed as out for the season. So I have not seen her on the bench either. Other people have told me she's there. I have not seen her once, but I probably missed her. But she's been ruled out for the year per the availability report. So, she's still on the roster, I guess is what I'm saying. She's still on scholarship. She's still on the roster in good standing, but physically she's not able to go. And Ryan, one more thing. I just want to reiterate. I'm sure our LSU fans, don't you think of the 300 people that are watching this, there's probably a couple people who are LSU fans? Don't you think, just because they can't resist?
Well, because we live rent-free in their head, of course.
So I want to ask you this again, Ryan. Do you know what I mean when I talk about Kim Mulkey being on all fours?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm just making sure that when I say that, you understand exactly what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. She was a psycho at Baylor. She's a psycho today. She was a psycho 5 minutes after she was born, Very successful coach. I just imagine. I can only imagine what she's like in a prospective recruit's living room recruiting. I mean, first of all, probably coming in, some exotic outfit, who knows? I'm getting images in my head that I just don't need right before I go to bed.
Exactly.
All right, Ryan, man. Hey, and hopefully we name an offensive coordinator before August. Have a good night, Cory.
Talk to you then. Thanks, Ryan. Ben says, with the officials in the national championship game still officiating, I don't know what reprimands they got, if any. Frankly, I thought it was ridiculous that we got word on their official word from, what was it, the NCAA that commented on it regarding the indiscrepancies that late in the game. But it is what it is. They're not going to go back and change the results of the game, and not saying they should, but that's why I hope they get another crack at LSU in March, but we'll have to wait a while. Want to see if there's anything else in the chat. Chad says that Ava Jones just had eye surgery recently. Thank you for the information. I did not know that, Chad, so thank you. And let's see here if I'm missing anything else. RY, the Aces and Hawkeye's guy, RC, says Kim Mulkey on all fours sounds like the worst horror movie that can ever be created. Becky says Ava Jones was in the line shaking hands last Sunday. Good to know. The YMCA, great podcast. Thank you, YMCA. Appreciate that. And there was a comment here earlier I wanted to get to. Deborah says she's watching from San Francisco. Thank you, Deborah, for representing and being here all the way from hopefully sunny San Francisco. It's not very sunny here in Iowa, but take what we get. Don, what was the scoring by quarter in this game? Well, I can give you that, Don. I mentioned 6 points in the fourth quarter for Wisconsin. Iowa won the first quarter narrowly, 19-15. Iowa put up 27 in the second, really separated themselves, 27-15 that second quarter, then 30-14 in the third, and then the final quarter was 20-6. Iowa was on pace to hit 100. Had they not taken out their starters, they most certainly would have hit three figures. And again, 96-50 the final score. Chad wants to know, this is a football-related question, where's the new OC? Sure taking a while. And don't bring it up. I don't. I understand the question. I'm not ripping you for the question, but I could tell you how many times somebody's asked me that question, and I'm at the point now where I don't have answers. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. I think that's what we're all doing. I don't think Kirk knows right now. So anyways, Dustin says that Ava sits in the first row right behind the bench. I'll look for her when she gets back healthy. Hopefully she is. Again, 96.50. Let me give you a box score rundown. First of all, our RTI Threads player of the game, Sydney Falter, 12 points, 3 of 3 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. She was really good, really efficient, and she is making this a regular thing. And if they can get this type of production from Sydney Falter moving forward, they're going to be extremely hard to beat when the tough gets going in March, because then you add a post presence in Hannah Stolke. They're obviously much better collectively when they can play on the run. They don't have a Monica Sonato that can bang down low. I'm not going to count on AJ Ediger turning into that. But with what Sydney is giving you right now on both sides of the court, plus what Kate's giving you, Gabby's making threes finally. That's positive. By the way, Gabby made just 1 3 tonight, but she only took 2. She was 1 of 2 from 3, 1 of 3 from the field overall. Caitlin Clark, 8 of 18 from the field, 6 of 14 from 3, 10 of 10 from the free throw line, 32 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists for Caitlin Clark. Also had 4 steals, 4 turnovers, had a block, and she drew 8 fouls. Really good once again from Caitlin Clark. Kate Martin added 16 points, 5 of 8 from the field. She was 4 of 7 from 3, 5 rebounds for Kate, 4 assists, 3 steals, 2 turnovers. Molly Davis added 5 points. Sharon Goodman with 2. Addison O'Grady with 6. Sydney Falter, I mentioned her with 12. Kylie Fierbach had 6 points on a couple of threes. She took 6 today. Good to see aggression out of Kylie. Gabby Marshall, I mentioned the 1-3. AJ Ediger, 7 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. Like what I saw from her late especially, but she got some minutes and some meaningful minutes earlier in the game, played 12 on the night. Taylor McCabe made 1-3 in the fourth. Jada Gyamfi did not score, but did play 3 minutes. Kenise Johnson-Etienne played for about 2.5 minutes and scored 4 points. So there's your box score update. The Hawkeyes blowing Wisconsin out, not only in the scoreboard, but in bench points. How about this? 38-4 with a shortened bench. 38-4. Wisconsin getting nothing from their bench. And that certainly hurt the Badgers. Iowa scored 42 points off of 28 Wisconsin turnovers. 28. Wow. 14 turnovers for Iowa. And Wisconsin's not very good. We've talked about that. They shot 32% on the night. The only thing they did really, really well was shoot free throws. They were 12 of 13 from the free throw line. Iowa just about matched that as far as percentage, 23 of 26 from the line. And they shot 48% from the field, 41% from 3. All in all, a dominant victory for your Iowa Hawkeyes in a packed Carver Hawkeye Arena. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. We've got DW. DW, welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Cory?
Doing good, sir. How are you?
Doing well. It's been a while since I called in. Haven't been able to watch the games live, unfortunately, the past few weeks, but was able to watch it tonight. Thought the Hawks played well. Slow start, just like with Indiana, but they came on strong, so that was good to see. My only comment was, like, as the previous caller and you mentioned, Sarah Williams, she is awesome. And if Christmas just ended, so my Christmas wish would be that if Caitlin decides to come back, if I'm Sarah Williams, I'm immediately entering the transfer portal and calling Lisa Bluter. I'm like, who wouldn't want to play with Caitlin Clark? I mean, I was really surprised that we didn't pick up any this year from the transfer portal. I thought that for sure that Anise Morrow from DePaul would come. I'm kind of glad she didn't. I've watched some of the LSU highlights, and it seems like all she does is she just shoots. She doesn't like play any type of team ball, doesn't pass it off or nothing like that. But I think that Sarah Williams, if she was here with Hannah and Caitlin one more time, that would be awesome.
I made the same comment you did, DW. After last season, I thought this is an opportunity. You know Caitlin's coming back. You know you lose Monica Sonato. Some 5 will want to come here. And I don't know how hard Lisa Bluter pushed in the portal, but I just know, Anissa Morrow was lost out to LSU. I think NIL was a factor there.
Oh,
and
definitely.
The women did not have great NIL support heading into the season. Now, maybe it's increase, but I think a lot of people who spend money are going to spend money going to these games and buying season tickets. How many of the big name donors are willing to drop big money on NIL for the women's game? I don't know. But boy, it'd be nice if Caitlin somehow comes back next year, if they could somehow go get a 5. Nothing against Sydney or against Sharon Goodman, Addison O'Grady, but somebody who's proven that can be a plug-and-play candidate to make them a national contender again next year.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how many passes tonight, especially, that are going through the hands of Addison O'Grady and Sharon Goodman. It's like, I mean, they're hitting the hands and they're just fumble it right out and so that's frustrating because one, that, you know, I want to see Caitlin get at least a double every game with her assists and things like that. But things like that just irritate me because it hit them right in the hands and just lost opportunity.
Both of those bigs have issues, I think, with their hands at times. And that's why I was impressed with AJ Edgar. I thought I'm surprised she's not getting more minutes. Like I said, I'm not watching her in practice every day. She is on scholarship.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought what she gave them as far as hustle and grit and rebounding, even with her size, and then her ability to score at a nice spin move and score. She showed me something. So
yeah, she did. She's going to be good next year for sure. I think another year with Jan. Now, speaking of our bigs down low, and I was mentioning this to my wife, who's not a real big basketball fan anyway, but she'll watch the games with me. Is that it seems like our bigs. This happened with Monica Sonano last year when I was watching the games. It's like, why don't they teach them to fake, pump fake, and get that defender up in the air and then go up and get the foul? They never do that. They just go straight up and they get swatted. It gets blocked a lot. Even with last year with Monica, that happened a lot. So it was like, I don't understand why they're not teaching them to do the pump fake as you would normally see, like with the men's team, right? So you see the pump fake. I don't understand that. I just don't get it.
That would be a great question for Jan Jensen. I still have intentions to get her on here. But I do know this as it relates to the men's game. You saw it probably if you watched the game Monday.
Yep.
Owen Freeman, as young players do fall for shot fakes. Now, maybe that's less prevalent in the women's game. I don't know. Maybe that's part of the reason why shot faking isn't as much of an emphasis. But I don't remember Megan Gustafson shot faking a whole lot.
She didn't. I mean,
ankles, and she didn't really need to.
Yeah, she had the footwork. I mean, she had the footwork, which Monica had, but not to the extent that Megan did. But Megan could also jump a little bit higher than Monica. Monica was our Adam Woodbury. She was kind of ground bound.
A little bit better offensively though than Adam.
Yeah. I mean, they had about as many dunks as each other had, I think, as well.
I do remember one dunk on a run out of Adam Woodbury.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Remember the shushing the crowd?
Yeah, because he dunked and he shushed out. He shushed the home crowd. That was funny.
He shushed the home crowd.
Yeah, he shushed the home crowd because we were all like, "You can't dunk. Why don't you dunk?" But going back to the NIL, there better be some donors wanting to pony up because the women are a bigger draw than the guys are. I mean, you watch the men's game, and because I live in Washington State, so I don't have an opportunity to get back to Carver, but you watch it on TV, and it's like nobody's in the stands. They show the back, behind the basket on free throws. There's nobody back there, and it's like, what the heck?
They've won 3 straight. They've got 2 straight games at home, including a huge one on Saturday against Purdue, and then a big one against Maryland on Wednesday. Hopefully we see a change with that, but you're absolutely right. Now, weather has not done them any favors. The game against Nebraska the other night was a blizzard here in Iowa. I mean, it was
a blizzard against Iowa and Indiana women's, and they sold out.
Well, it was a little bit better. Conditions were a little bit better by Saturday night, but I get your fair point taken. It was no, you're absolutely right that fans are showing up for the women. They're not for the men. And there's a reason. Part of it's a person with the initial CC.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we're not going to see a player like that, unfortunately, for probably a very long time, or if ever again. Right. I mean, I can't even remember a dominant player on the men's side like that. I mean, you think back to Ronnie Lester, you think to B.J. Armstrong and Roy Marble, but Caitlin Clark is the best Iowa basketball player in my 51 years of life that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Of course, I wasn't, I know there's somebody from the 50s that's supposed to be really good. I think Freddie Brown was supposed to be pretty good, downtown Freddie Brown. But he was playing when I was like 3, so I don't remember him too much. But
I'd say, you know what? Iowa basketball fans have been spoiled, though, because I don't think we realize what we've been able to witness with the likes of Luka Garza, Caitlin Clark, Megan Gustafson, and Keegan Murray.
Yeah. Well, both Murray boys. And I can't even, you got to put Jordan Bohannon. He was exciting. When he was on, Kathleen Doyle. Kathleen Doyle. But we've been spoiled. Even throughout the years, I remember when I was a kid, the Twin Towers, Michael Payne, Greg Stokes, Steve Carfino, Boyle. We just had a litany of players come through, and after them, then we had Horton and Marble and Armstrong and Lowhouse and Bullard, and then we had Settles and Murray again, the Kenyon Murray. So it's just been going on down the line. It suddenly stopped when Alford got here, and then of course Licklider killed the program for a few years. But Caitlin Clark is, I think, by far the best player Iowa's ever had, men or women. And speaking of that, by the way, I'm kind of keeping track of how many points she's got, right? If she was a guy, she would be number 3 on the all-time scoring list for the males. There's just a big gap between 3 and 2, and there's actually only 2 points or 3 points between the top scorer for male and number 1. Pete Maravich has it by like 3 points over the second place person. But Caitlin right now would be number 3 on the male side. It's just at the women side, they're bunched together at the top.
Right.
Yeah.
But Kelsey Blum's going to be the goal, right? That's still the goal.
I think her goal should be Pistol Pete. Take the all-time leading scorer in the NCAA. Why not do that?
Back next year. Yeah.
She could do it this year if you count. We go into the tournament. Because if you make the Big Ten tournament, let's say they're number 1, they're still going to get 3 games in the Big Ten tournament,
and she's averaging over 30 a night right now.
She's averaging 30, right? She's like at 31, I think, right now, counting tonight's score. And then there's 6 games in the NCAA, so that's another 9 games at the end of the season if they make it to the championship on both the Big Ten and the NCAA. So that's another 9 games. Plus, we got 13 games left in the regular season. Is that 13 or 14 games? I can't remember 13. Which.
13. Yep.
Yeah. So that's 22 more games at 30 points. If she keeps averaging that, and she's going to drop a 45 burger in one of these games. It's going to happen. And honestly, the next game coming up, Ohio State, that's going to be a huge game. Ohio State got embarrassed in that Big Ten championship game. They're going to be looking for some revenge, but they, of course, lost some players as well. So we'll see what happens there, but it's going to be a good game.
I think Indiana was looking for some revenge, and they got.
They're missing Grace Berger a lot more than they thought. Grace Berger was that engine that drove that team. Without her, Mackenzie Holmes, great player, but honestly, if you go back and watch that Indiana game, when she makes her move, she's always spinning to her left, shooting with her right hand because they got her body to block, right? So she has her right hand free. And I don't know why we didn't force her, because every time she went to her right and she doesn't shoot left-handed. She can't do it. And she would miss the shot or she would pass it. If you can get Mackenzie Holmes to spin right as opposed to left, you've taken her out of the game. She won't score.
She played pretty well against Iowa's bigs, but
again, go watch that game. She's spinning every time she scores. She's spinning to the left because then she's got her body to block the right, because then her right hand's on the outside and she can make the shot, and we don't have the bigs to block. But if you get her to spin the other way, and she can't shoot left-handed, that's what I'm saying is that if you watch that game, you'll see that when the few times they got her to spin right, she couldn't score. She missed bunnies.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what Saturday holds, and on the road, I know there's going to be a lot of Iowa fans there, but it's also there will be more Ohio State fans there. Like, I know it's sold out, and people think it's a Caitlin Clark effect. It is, but there's still going to be more Iowa fans, just like that game at Purdue. That was a tough environment to play in.
Yeah, that was.
To be raucous on Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah. The Purdue's tough with that student section. Of course, the opposing team always second half has to go right towards the student section, and that student section is crazy. Much like Minnesota, their student section is awesome. When you watch the men's basketball game the other day, that student section at Williams Arena is fantastic. I don't know why we can't do that at Iowa. I just don't get it, but it is what it is.
Well, I'll tell you, Ohio State, one thing about Ohio State, J.C. Sheldon Iowa knows all about her, scores a lot of points. I'm trying to think, Cody McMahon. There are some familiar faces that Iowa's very familiar with from playing them. Well, they didn't played them last year. Did they play them in the Big Ten tournament last year? I think they played them last year in the Big Ten tournament.
We played them in the champ. Oh, you mean you're talking about the guys or the girls?
I'm talking about the girls. I'm talking about the women.
Yeah. We played them in the championship game, and we beat them. We put 100 burger on them. We scored 103 points, 104 points against Ohio State in the championship game. Our toughest game in that. What's that?
Say that again.
We played Ohio State last year in the Big Ten tournament in the championship game. We beat them by like 40 points, I thought, because we had 103, 104 points in the championship game.
Looking through the stat lines, they shoot the three ball pretty well. J.C. Sheldon's a 40% three-point shooter. Thierry or Terry, however pronounce her last name, she's a 40% three-point shooter. I'm going to butcher this name. Mikulášeková is a 40% free three-point shooter. Shoemate's a 42% three-point shooter. So they have people that can stretch Iowa. I think my guess is this coaching staff, what was said in the chat earlier, and I haven't listened to Lisa Bluter post-game yet, but my guess is that was part of the decision to rest Hannah tonight. The bottom line is they're going to need her Saturday. They're going to need her
definitely
athleticism, her ability, her rim run. So, they're going to have to guard. Ohio State can score points.
Well, if you got the stats up there, Cory, 40%. Yeah, that sounds scary. But you look at, for example, I'm just going to give you an example tonight. Gabby Marshall, she shot 50% from three, but she only took 2 attempts. Correct. So more importantly is not necessarily their percentage, but what's the attempts they're taking. Because if they only have 10 attempts and they're shooting 40%, well, okay, that's one game. That were 2.
Yeah. I can give you those numbers. Let's see. I'm giving you higher volume. Like Hannah Stolke's a 50% shooter, right? But she doesn't take threes. But like Caitlin Clark's a high volume shooter, 40%. Yeah. Kate Martin, high volume shooter, 34% shooter. It's really solid. Molly Davis, 35% shooter, decent. I'm just saying in general, I could look up, let me look up Big Ten stat rankings here. I'm just curious to see where they rank in the Big Ten Conference in 3-point field goals. So in the Big Ten Conference, they are Ohio State makes, so they are second in the conference in, let's see. Hold on a second. They're Ohio State second in the conference in opponent 3-point field goal percentage. So they're really good against the 3A.
Yeah.
Their average percentage for the conference in general, let me see here. They've attempted 327 field goal 3-point field goals on the season, which is 8th in the conference. So middle of the pack. They make, 8th. They're 8th in the conference in makes. They average 7 per game. So
so it goes back to my point. I mean, you can be a 40% 3-point shooter, but if you're shooting 20 for the season,
look up conference. I'm just curious on conference only. That was the season as a whole. Conference only. Ohio State, boy, their opponent 3-point field goal percentage has went in the wrong direction, but they have made more 3-point field goals in the conference than they were in non-conference. They're 6th in the conference in 3-point field goals made. They're making 7 per game. And to put that in perspective, Iowa's leading the conference by far, 12 threes made per game for the Hawks. The next closest is Nebraska with 8.8. So
Caitlin makes more 3-pointers in a game than Ohio State, the whole team does.
Right. She also makes like 20, but
but I mean, so
she's also a pretty, what did I say her percentage was? Is it 40%?
It's like 40. I thought it was better than that. I thought it was like 41, 42, maybe not, but I thought it was 40 in the Big Ten alone. 40% in the Big Ten.
Well, no, that's overall. Yeah. That's overall. I'm curious what she is in the. Let me look to see what she is in the Big Ten only. In conference play, Caitlin Clark. Let's see, conference only stats. Team leaders. Let's see here. 3-point field goals. Percentage wise. See, again, I don't know. I'm looking at field goals attempted. See, like Taylor Valladay for Penn State. She's attempted 45 3-point. No, that's field goal percentage. Okay, 3-point percentage. 3-point percentage. Gabby Marshall's actually in the conference. She's 3rd in the conference. Clark is 4th.
Okay. Yeah. Again, I mean, when Gabby's on, she's on, but she still doesn't take as many attempts.
No, but she really struggled non-conference. I mean, we can look at that.
She did.
She struggled non-conference, so you hope that continues. Caitlin is by far the leader in the conference for 3-point field goals made per game at 5.9. So anyways, and as it relates to Ohio State, you're right about this. I don't see anybody in the top. Celeste Taylor is making 1.6 threes per game. And I don't see anybody with a higher number for them. Let me see here. Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody else. So I think you're probably right about that as far as volume is concerned.
Right. I mean, it's just, you get these players that shoot the lights out in high school, then they come to college and they burn the nets in practice. We had a player like that a few years ago. If you remember Josh Oglesby, he's a great shooter, but you get him in the game and he never made a shot. I mean, it's kind of, it's
might be a little bit of inspiration, but
he made a few, but I mean, it wasn't like every time, but it's not like when you see, like when Jordan Bohannon shot, you expected it to go in. It was rare. You're like, oh my God, he missed it. Him, it's like it was rare he made it. You expected him to miss. And so, but I mean, back to the thing is if Iowa plays, if they can play like they can get back to the way they played against Indiana, there's nobody in the Big Ten that's going to beat them. There's nobody. When you got Kate Martin hitting, Gabby hitting, Falter hitting some big shots, Caitlin coming on strong, and then Molly Davis, holy cow! I mean, we get her going. I mean, and we can play defense like we did tonight. There's nobody that's going to beat us in the Big Ten.
I will say this: Ohio State leads the conference in turnover margin. They are 3rd in the conference in scoring. So even though they don't have a lot of individuals that make a ton of threes, they do have people that can make shots throughout. And I'm looking at, let me see, turnovers. So 1st in the conference in turnover margin, 2nd in the conference in assist to turnover ratio. So they take care of the ball. They're efficient offensively. And you brought up how Iowa put up a 100-burger on them in the Big Ten tournament. They're made up very similar that they were than they were to last year. So it'll be interesting to see what as the Aces and Hawkeye guy in the chat says, JC Sheldon and how they contain those gals. That will be a hostile environment. Like I said, same as Purdue the other night. It will be a raucous crowd.
Everywhere Iowa goes to play, it's a raucous crowd. Any away game, it's going to be raucous. And the thing is that Iowa's got the experience now. They did it in the NCAA tournament. Has grown this team by leaps and bounds, more so I think than any other Big Ten team. They know they thrive in that environment with the leaders they have still, Caitlin, Gabby, and Kate, they keep that team pretty well grounded and, hey, we're going to pull this out. We're going to do it. I just don't see any other Big Ten team with that mental toughness. I just don't.
Well, DW, appreciate your phone call, sir.
All right.
To talk to you at some point here again soon. Don't be a stranger to the show.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, sir. All right. Yeah, Brandon asked the question, how balanced is Ohio State scoring? Like I said, they are third in the conference in scoring. They're one of only 3 teams that is scoring at least 80 points per game in conference play. So that is noteworthy. They're 4th in the conference in field goal percentage. And they're average in 3-point percentage. But, like I say, they're pretty balanced throughout, and they do put up points. So there'll be challenges, especially on the road. Iowa's got to defend and hopefully get Hannah Stolke back. She's, of course, dealing with a lower leg injury per some reports this evening. Again, the Hawkeyes defeating Wisconsin 96-50. Want to thank Iowa Smokehouse one more time. Thank you, Iowa Smokehouse, for being a part of our post-game coverage as always. Check out the selection of meat products, barbecue sauces, salsas, and more at iowasmokehouse.com. Use the code Hawkeyes for 15% off your order. Don't forget to get your orders in, folks. Middle of wintertime, best time to do it. Get it shipped right to your door. Absolutely free. Spend $50. This stuff keeps forever. It's great. iowasmokehouse.com. Use the code Hawkeyes for 15% off your order. And Brad Van Meter and his team down at State Farm. Give him a call, 515-256-6480 for a quote on auto insurance, life insurance, renter's insurance, and the like. And Brad has told me over and over again that auto insurance rates are as low as he's seen them in quite some time. So take advantage of the good rates right now. Visit bradvanmeter.com or see him in person at 4229 Fleur Drive down in Des Moines. Also, RTI Threads, our player of the game is Sydney Falter, and RTI Threads partnering with a bunch of Hawkeye athletes, including Cooper DeJean, Aaron Graves, Carson Shire, Zach Lutmer, Aiden Hall. Check all the selection out at rtithreads.com. Appreciate RTI Threads over in North Sioux City. And how about one final plug before we sign out for the night? Unless there's we'll leave the phone line open for another minute here and see if anybody else gives us a ring. But Ascent Nutrition, I've talked about them so many times over the past 2 years, and they've sponsored so much. Just please extend your appreciation to Ascent Nutrition. They're part of the reason that we can make all this possible. Start your Ascent today with their Ascent coffee, their humic and fulvic acid, also their mushroom powders, both their lion's mane mushroom and their agarikon mushroom. The agarikon is designed to help respiratory health as well as your inflammatory response. And read all about the benefits of this stuff and kind of the backstory of this mushroom powder. It can be mixed in with yogurts, juices, smoothies, etc. Start your Ascent today by visiting goascentnutrition.com and use the code Hawkeyes. That's the code Hawkeyes at goascentnutrition.com. All right, folks, the Hawkeyes defeating Wisconsin 96-50. Stay tuned the rest of the week. We'll have football coverage, news, videos coming. Also, the Hawkeye men play Purdue Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time on FS1, Iowa Postgame with Coach Gary Close following the game. And then on Sunday, we'll have postgame coverage following Iowa and Ohio State and special guest announcement. Stay tuned. Big game Sunday, big guest Sunday for our postgame show following the Hawkeyes and the Buckeyes. Thank you for being up late with me tonight, folks. Have a great night. Stay safe, stay warm. We'll talk to you soon.